Hello and welcome to John and Gary Live. Tonight we are talking about mental health. So, are you okay? That is the question that we want to be asking each other and our friends. Joining us tonight, we have Laura Ma. Tell us, who are you? Who are you?
I think you nailed it on the head there, Laura Ma. That's the name.
Who are you? What do you do? Like, what encapsulates who you are?
Who I am.
Tell us a bit about you.
I am a 32-year-old woman.
Nice.
I live on the Central Coast. I dabble in a little bit of sports here and there.
Always lived on the coast?
I've had a couple of stints in Queensland, but nothing, to write home about. I lived on the Gold Coast for a year after school. I went to uni for a year and then came back home because I got into a little bit of strife up there.
Yeah. What'd you study at uni?
I was doing a Bachelor of Laws.
Bachelor of Laws?
Yeah, I was going to be a lawyer.
And how did that go?
Not well.
What did you end up in?
Cooking.
Cooking?
Yeah.
I love cooking.
Yeah, so good. So, yeah, I'm a chef by day, slob by night. Yeah.
Isn't that 90% of Australia? Maybe not the chef part. We can use the microwave. Does that work?
An air fryer is like your upgraded microwave
it's
nowadays,
so
I reckon.
good.
How good is it?
I love an air fryer.
Bloody ripper.
I have a wife, so
I got to get me one of those, eh?
2024.
Yeah, seriously.
My wife is a good cook but she doubts herself a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm the one who cooks the most in our household. But at the moment, I'm on a carnivore diet, so I'm pretty restrictive diet. And so we kind of do our own cooking separately at the moment with like meal preps and stuff, but we'll definitely eat together on the weekend. Man, I made a steak the other night and she loved it.
What kind of steak was it? What cut?
Angus Reserve Gold Standard rump steaks.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
You must have a lot of money, mate.
No, we're testing out some steaks for something coming up for a little event that we've got going on.
Nice. So it was good?
It was good.
It was gold standard?
It was yum. Yeah, it was very yum.
Fantastic.
I'm going to make the other ones better because I'm going to soak them in buttermilk for 7 days beforehand, get them nice and tender. And then I'm going to make sure I get the seasoning on like a couple of hours before so the salt can absorb into the meat and make it that just.
I love salty meat.
Yeah. The only kind of.
And then you got to put on the MSG.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the secret.
Shout out to our Asian brothers and sisters.
So Laura, we invited you on tonight because you've gone through a tough stint in life very recently, and we'd love to hear more about it. So can you start from the beginning? Like what happened, and we'll go from there, and we'll have some questions for you, and we'll even probably comment and whatnot, and see how we go.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm one of 4 kids. How far in the beginning do I start? Like birth or
Rebirth.
like a couple of years or?
You can do whatever you want, Laura. If you want to start from birth, you can. Were you breech or your head first?
There's forceps involved. No, apparently I'm shooting out a few days early. So anyway, it's probably a little bit too far in the beginning. Yeah, so one of 4 kids, and just like to touch on the childhood stuff. Like we, in hindsight, we didn't really have I guess like a healthy upbringing. It was like there's abuse in terms of like emotional, mental, physical. Like when my parents were together, my dad was quite violent. I've only recently found out that he doesn't remember because he was drunk.
Yeah.
Which explains some of my adult behaviors as well. But then my parents split up and then it was just us 4 kids.
How old were you?
I was 7.
You were 7.
Yeah. So mum.
And where in the pecking order are you in terms of the 4 kids?
I'm number 2.
You're number 2.
Yeah. Best one, I reckon.
Hey, I'm number 2.
Yeah. Best one.
Yeah. It's middle child syndrome.
I know, number 5.
4.
Number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, no good.
Yeah. Well.
Number 2.
No,
Which-
number 4.
We're twice as good as you.
You're a deuce.
We didn't even,
Two.
Number 2, yeah, dude.
Deuce.
Isn't that the most satisfying thing ever?
Sucking it back up is.
And then re-releasing into the wild. Yeah. So anyway, and then yeah, growing up into adult, like all 4 of us, sorry, 3 out of 4 of us were kicked out of home as like young adults, late teenagers. So going out
all
into
4 of you at the same time.
not at the same time, like one by one. So
A
Yeah.
day apart.
yeah, it was like 1 week and it was an empty household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like my sister first and then I was second. My brother that's just younger than me, he ended up just leaving. But he was also the favorite child. And then my youngest brother ended up getting kicked out when he was 17 as well. So we were, released into the wild, into adulthood with not the best, I guess,
Tools equipped.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like coping mechanisms, tools, like how to interact like socially and like I guess like normally with other people and stuff.
What would you say your school was like?
School, well, that was an escape from home. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say excelled at school, but I wasn't an idiot either. So I did all right.
You're doing law, so
Well,
you can't be.
well, I got into a technicality, hey. I was like, just to be real, like I only got like a 76 something as an ATAR, but the uni opened like that year. So it's like they. Why are we laughing?
Sorry, Laura.
No, really.
John and I are just like,
Question mark.
Oh, so did my brother.
look, I didn't even have an ATAR.
Okay.
John's
Yeah.
looking at me like, I thought he was, for a second there, I was like, he's a dropout like me.
Ah, drop out.
Yeah, so well, yeah, it was a technicality. So the
Yeah.
uni had only just opened, so they were just like letting anyone and anything in there. So
There you go.
yeah, and so yeah, like all 4 of our siblings have had our struggles trying to survive as adults, and yeah, a couple of years ago. Oh, it's not even a couple of years ago now. It's like a year and a half ago. My youngest brother committed suicide.
Yeah.
And like, I get it. Like, I fully get it. Like, as someone who around the same age as him, was also had like suicide ideation and attempts and like really bad mindset, mental health, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's like I understand like that there's a choice when you deal with it. Like there's the either you put in the work or you go, oh, is this it? And you either do something to change it or you just go, yeah, this is it. And then that's, yeah. So like, yeah, it was a pretty rough patch, but yeah, I just I got it. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can all, I think most people in the world can not emulate, sympathize. Maybe it is empathy.
It is.
Empathize.
Yeah.
Empathize. That's the word I was looking for. It's another E word. Empathize with how, tough life can get. And who hasn't had a point of weakness where you've gone like, man, would it just be easier if it wasn't here?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
In the moment, in the moment, it is true. It would be just easier just not to. But you got to find that, that one thing,
Yeah.
Well, I've heard that apparently like half of us are walking around without like an inner monologue, like dialogue.
Oh, what?
We aren't.
Yeah, that half of us don't have that voice.
Interesting.
Yeah, right.
Half of us will think in other ways, like whether it's like emotion or images or something else. But like, for example, if you read a book, I mean, if you can read, sorry.
Was that a slide at John?
Yeah, on kind of the ATAR thing.
I haven't read a book in my life.
Look, I'm glad you're going after him and not going after the dropout over here.
That like when you read a book that there's like people who can picture what they're reading, like imagine it, stuff like that.
I can do that.
Yeah, I can too. But
I do that well. We were recently on holidays, and one of our things we did when we were in the car, would put on an audiobook.
Mm.
And my wife struggled with imagining some of the books because some of the books had movies to go along with them, so she could imagine it, but the other ones didn't, and so
Yeah.
she struggled to like put it all together in
Yeah.
her mind. And so people think in different ways.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of like, so half of us as well, when we read books, apparently only half of us have the ability to imagine what we're reading. The
Yeah,
other half are just looking at words,
yeah,
and that's it. It's just words.
just
Like,
words.
that blows my mind because I'm also like an imagination person. So
Mm,
yeah, but what I mean by like the inner dialogue is like, I think my brother would have had there was a voice.
mm,
So you know, when you're saying like in that moment, it's like it's easier if I wouldn't, like, I just wasn't here. There's like, there could also be, for maybe half of us, that like there's also a voice that we're listening to as
it's like
well.
the old trope of the angel and the devil on the shoulder
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just like talking to you.
Yeah, pretty much. And like, it's funny because that voice is like, it's still us, but like, and like our thoughts and things like that. But yeah, there's like a voice that can,
Yeah.
say things to you. So you might even just like listen to a voice who you think is not yourself, but really it's just,
Mm.
it is.
I do anecdotal. I had a guy that I used to.
You had a guy?
Had a friend who I would read the Bible with,
Mm.
and because he struggled with kind of the decorum of church, he was very outspoken and kind of got himself into a little bit of trouble every now and then. Turns out he has some sort of mental illness because he was invited to my wedding. He didn't come to the wedding, and my minister who was marrying us gets a call like just after the wedding going, "Hey, this person's in the city chasing voices at the moment." Like, and so so it's crazy things how the mind can work, isn't it?
Wild. Just so wild. Yeah, I agree.
Going back to your childhood, do you have either one of your parents that like have depressive personalities or have suicidal personalities that you guys have adopted from, or do you think it's from the upbringing that life's just been not the greatest from the outset?
Good question. I think more recently, and this might have something to do with social media, but that's just my personal opinion, is that there's a lot more awareness on a lot more like social issues, and one of them being like mental health, and one of them being like certain like diagnoses that can explain certain behaviors or patterns of thinking and stuff like that. So I would say probably in terms of my parents, I think that there potentially could have been some mental health things that have gone like unchecked.
Yeah.
But I would probably put it down like with my parents, I put it down to like their own traumas. So they like my mom, as much as I want to say that like she's crazy and like because some of those experiences are just like I can't even put it into words. It's hard to articulate. But she lived and she acted and she behaved in what she thought was the way to think and act and behave, and that she thought those things and did those things because of her own experiences.
Yeah.
So then, it's just like that, what like I've heard about like intergenerational trauma where it just keeps going down the line. And then, I think in terms of like both my parents, actually, I think it was just their own experiences that shaped them into what they thought was, I think for my mum, I've cut it a lot of times and thought about it so many different ways, but I think my mum actually had children because she had never really felt loved. And I feel like she had kids thinking that her kids would love her in the way that she wanted and needed to be loved.
Yeah.
And then
that's unfair to put on to a kid, isn't it?
I agree 100%. And so I feel like what has happened is that, we are our own people,
Mm.
and being such, we grew up with this unspoken expectation, but we then started to form our own ways of thinking and behaving and speaking and stuff, and then it didn't match that unspoken expectation,
Yeah.
and then she's reacted in her own way, which is, I think, has come from her own trauma.
Mm.
And then so then it's just being passed down the line, isn't it?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, definitely.
I think it's a lot of, like, even my dad, he was I've recently kind of a little bit reconnected with him, but the same thing with him. He's had his own, like, pretty horrific experiences as well.
Yeah.
I think that my dad especially is in an age group as well that might even have some of the experiences of, like, I guess even like war times and stuff. I don't know whether it was him
Yeah.
specifically or whether it was his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my dad's like 78 or something, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going to your brother,
Mm.
normally someone who does suicide normally will write a letter, like a goodbye,
Yeah,
or some sort. So did what was your brother's name?
Peter.
Peter.
Yeah.
Did Peter do
I never saw it.
so? But there was something.
There was something. Yeah. I never saw it, but
Was that by choice, or is it like choice for you? Or?
Oh no, it's like the police got their hands on it, and then it was really hard to get stuff off them. So we were quite. I don't know if Peter's girlfriend ended up getting it, but even getting his phone back, because he had a young son, and she just wanted the photos and stuff off the phone so she could have them. But it was just really, really difficult to get certain things off the police. So it wasn't by choice.
Yeah.
Although one of the police officers did tell me that he heavily was blaming his girlfriend. But I guess that's just part of, like, what we do. We naturally want to blame someone else for something that's, not particularly their fault, like that projection and stuff like that.
That's right.
Of our own issues. So, I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. I'd be interested, but it doesn't bother me either way if I do see it.
And so is there still stuff going on between you guys and the police?
No, I just checked out of that, eh?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have anything, like, there's nothing left. Like, the only thing, I can't remember why I went there. I had to go there. Oh, because technically, because I was the one who found Peter. So,
Wow.
it was the Easter long weekend, 23 last year. And we had organised to go down and see my sister.
Yeah.
And it was, so Peter, my other brother Danny, and myself were all going to jump in the car together and go down and see my sister. And I had been, like, at the start of last year, I'd been working on my relationship with Danny. So him and I had been going and getting breakfast or getting a coffee, like, once a week. And it was the Easter Monday, and I had gone down to this cafe with Danny, and we were it was like nothing
Nothing out of the ordinary.
nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So, like, I did have a bit of a funky feeling in my gut, not gonna lie, because I was like, I tried to get a hold of Peter and he didn't respond and he didn't answer his phone and stuff. So I was like starting to get a bit worried, but because I had a missed call from him the night before. So, and then I was like starting to get, like, those worries and those, like, little tingles and stuff. And so Danny and I, we finished up with this cafe. I dropped Danny home, quickly stopped to the shops to grab, like, some snacks for the drive and stuff. And then, and then I went pick Danny up and we drove over to Peter's house. And I said to Danny, just wait here. Like, I've got a funny feeling that something's wrong. And Danny waited for me and I went inside. And so I laughed. Just like, okay, bit dark. But I walked in.
I think humor is how we cope.
Oh,
so I
100%.
don't think anyone's going to fault you for a little bit of humor in this situation because it's hard to talk about, hey?
Yeah,
It's
I think that getting uncomfortable and just laughing about it is just like a natural.
it's a coping mechanism, yeah.
Um,
And that's
yes,
okay. No fault there.
I agree. I'd rather laugh than cry.
Mm.
But yeah, I walked into his house and like it was a mess and whatever, and I was like, oh, Peter, and like it's not a very big place. It's just
Mm.
like a little 1-bedroom upstairs of a house, and so you literally walk in the door into the kitchen, and then it's like a living room, and the bedroom's off that with the bathroom.
So is
And
the door unlocked?
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's a balcony on the end. And I walked in and I turned around. I went into the bedroom. The bed was made, like it wasn't there. The sliding door to the balcony was open. And I was like, Peter. And then they had like just like rope and stuff that they hung their washing on out on the balcony and stuff. And he had like pants. So like I didn't really register what I was looking at. And because I saw his phone on the couch, I was like, oh, he's here somewhere.
Yeah.
And so as I walked closer to the sliding door, and then like I looked past his pants, like I saw the back of his head, and I was like, "Oh, hey brother, like how's it going?" And like I've gone through the pants, and then like I looked up, and I was like, "Oh," because his feet, he'd use like a weight bench to like prop himself up, and as I looked up, like I followed the line of his body, and like I saw because he hung himself,
Mm.
and then I saw the rope, and I like went past him, and I was like, because I was like, what are you doing? Because I was like, what are we looking at?
Because
I was
you're not
like, yeah,
hearing anything
what are we
either.
looking at? And then
Yeah.
I walked past him, and when like I kind of just like stuck my head around, and I saw his face, and I was like, oh fuck, and then I just went. Like, I just remember my brain just went knife, like get him down.
Yeah.
So I ran back into the kitchen and I grabbed a knife and I cut him down. And I watched him. I remember I paused for a moment because as he fell, there was a barbell with some weights on the end, and he fell and like his side like hit one of the what are they called, the plates.
Yeah.
And it's like now that I think back, like my memory of it is like you know when you watch a balloon like bounce off the floor, it was like it was kind of like that. And I paused because I was waiting for him to be like, oh, ouch, or like move or something.
Yeah. Wow.
And then he didn't. And so like I kicked the barbell out of the way and I rolled him onto his back. And then what hit me next was because I got on the ground was I tried to untie the noose part and like it was hard, but it was the smell.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. And then I couldn't get the noose off. So I ran out the front and I said, and as I was like running out the front, I tried to call his girlfriend and she didn't answer. So then as I got out the front, like Danny was standing across the road. He'd gotten out of the car by then because he had his dog with him.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and I was like come, like you need to come
quick.
inside.
Yeah, come quick.
And he's come across the road and he's like, what's wrong? And I said, I think Peter's hung himself. And then
So like it still hadn't hit you. Like you just like think.
Yeah, like surely like this can't be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like surreal kind of, yeah.
And so anyway, I called the ambulance and we went back inside. And so the guy on the phone, he was organised for the ambulance to come, and then I was performing CPR and Danny was like on his hands and knees, and he went and found a pair of scissors to try and cut it off. But he couldn't, so he just had to sit there and like untie it. And then because they lived at Terrigal, so then I could hear the ambulance, the sirens coming, and I was like, all right, they're not too far away. And then the guy on the phone was like, oh, we're just going to need like someone out the front just so they know where to go and stuff. So Danny was like, oh, I'll go out the front.
So did you guys still have hope that you could revive him?
Well, yeah, funnily enough, when Danny went out the front, I was like doing CPR, and I just like I had this moment, and I was like, I'm gonna get emotional because like just like I was like, fuck, it was like he's not coming back. And it was like that split second. And I felt it all bubbling up and I just like had to swallow it because I was like, no, you got a job to do. Like you got to
Keep
keep
going.
going
Yeah.
because like he could come back. Like,
Mm.
you don't know
How long it's been.
like whether he is gone or anything.
Yeah.
But Danny and this guy, the ambulance guy came in and he's like, just keep going with the CPR until I tell you to stop. And he's got out like his defib and he's sorting out the pads and stuff on the defib and then he's like cut his shirt and then he was like, I'm not. He goes, he's gone. Like I'm just gonna call it. And so because what he did was he said because his jaw was like he had like bitten his tongue.
Yeah.
That was like one of the things that I could tell like when I looked at his face initially because his eyes weren't shut but they were kind of like half rolled and he had bitten his tongue and it was like purple.
Mm.
And the ambulance guy, his name was Tim. I still remember him. And he goes, yeah, I'm just gonna call it. And because like Peter's hands were like bluey kind of.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, this is. Then he was like, do you have like a sheet or something so I can cover him up?
Mm.
And I just went in there into the bedroom and I ended up grabbing their doona. And I said, this is all I can find because
Yeah.
And he goes, you're going to have to leave now because this is technically a crime scene.
Yeah. Wow.
And so anyway, I was like, oh, can I just quickly make a call before like I leave? And he was like, oh no, like you need to leave. And I said, I need to call his girlfriend because they've got a young son. He'd just turned 1 a couple of months before, and I said, I don't want them to come home to this. So I need to call her. And I just got on the phone and I was like, just don't come home. And I think she knew because she was like, are you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm all right. I wasn't all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I'm all right. And then as I was walking out, like Danny had put the dog's lead on like a tap and Danny was out the front and I grabbed the dog and Tim was like in front of me and as I grabbed the dog, he walked past me and I go, can I have a hug? I
Yeah.
still remember this. And he goes, of course. And he hugged me and I lost it.
Yeah.
I just
Wow.
fucking went for it. And like, yeah, it was, it wasn't like, I don't know, it just stopped.
Mm.
Like it just stopped. It
Yeah.
just, as soon as like he let me go, like I just stopped.
Mm.
And then we went and sat out the front and we were across the road, like next to the car. And yeah, we were sitting there and there's a lady who lived in that house. She was like, is everything okay? Because by this time the fire truck had gone past.
Yeah.
Because when the fire truck came, there was already 4 police cars there, 2
Wow.
ambulances. And when the fire truck came, they said, oh, we don't need any help. So the fire truck moved on. And the
4
lady.
police cars.
Yeah, there was 4 police cars.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a bit overkill, isn't it?
I thought so too. I agree.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, the lady that lived in the house that was sitting out front of across the road, she was like, are you guys all right? Do you need any help? Because, like, I'm a doctor. And I was like, oh, thanks for the offer, but unfortunately we don't need any
We don't need a doctor
assistance.
right now.
Yeah. But yeah, we sat there and like they had the big dog there, the police. He wears a different hat. What was he called?
No,
Constable? No.
sergeant,
Intendant?
Sergeant?
Sergeant?
inspector.
Inspector. Yeah, right. And so they were like, we're just he's here because he has to make sure that the police are not doing anything shady.
Mm.
And then yeah, they came over after a little while and they were like, so why is there a knife there? And I was like, that's what I used to cut him down. And they're like, why are there scissors there? And we're like, that's what we tried to use to cut the noose off his neck. And they're like, yeah, all right. And then we had to like literally fill out paperwork whilst we were standing there. So they're like,
That's
what's
heavy.
Yeah, like what's
Like-
his name? This is obviously his address. Like, how long have you known him? Like, tell me what happened and like sign here. And I was just like, this is wild. And then Danny and I were sitting there and Danny had just purchased a car on Facebook Marketplace and he was like, I gotta meet this guy and I can't remember. It's like
Yeah.
somewhere around Pymble or something. No, St. Ives.
Yeah.
And he was like, I got to meet this guy to get this car before a certain time, or like he's not going to sell it to me. And I said, all right. So I had to go up to the police officers and say, like, I don't know if this is super inappropriate, but we can't, like, we got to go.
Mm.
And like, yeah, no dramas. And then so after that, they told me that I had to go to the police station. So I went into Gosford, and yeah, they just gave me some pamphlets and told me that the coroner was going to call me or to call the coroner or something. And then after that, when I was there, I was like, oh, I just, I didn't know where my dad was.
Mm.
So I had said, like, yo, can you help me find my dad? Like, do you have an address for him? And they were like, oh, we can look him up. He wasn't in the system. So they're like, he mustn't have a driver's license. So then after that, I never spoke to him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, my brother.
To the police.
To the police, yeah. But Peter's girlfriend had tried a few occasions to get that phone back, but I'm unsure, unconfirmed if she actually did receive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a wild story. Like, yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's like I'm super comfortable talking about it and stuff. And like sometimes I can talk about it and like not get emotional. Sometimes I do. Like it just is what it is. Like I can't control it.
And tell us like what happens in the days and then preceding weeks after. Like what's happening with you? And family even.
So I feel like my extended family and like the four of us were never super close. And like more, I think this is pretty standard, but like a bit closer with mum's side than dad's side.
Yeah.
So like we literally on the day when I drove Danny down to St. Ives, on the way back, I broke down for like maybe half that trip, like just cried my eyes out. It was a driving hazard, I can assure you. But
so were you driving? Or?
Yeah, I was driving.
Oh
yeah. But it was a very quiet trip on the way down to pick up this car.
Yeah.
There was a moment we were out of Satellites and we were sitting there and Danny's like, we were stopped at the Satellites and Danny's like, you can go. I just fully don't know what happened. I was like, oh shit. Like, and then anyway.
Yeah, okay, like green light.
Yeah, like we'll stop.
What do you mean you can excuse yourself from this situation? You can leave like
bye.
I'll get out.
Yeah. So and then it wasn't until after I dropped him off and he picked up the car and then I was driving back by myself, and then once I'd kind of like pulled myself together a little bit, then I was like, I got to rip the Band-Aid. Like, so I started calling around my family. One of my aunties lives in Queensland and I called her and like she was just like howling on the phone to me, like, and until like my uncle was like, what's going on? And then she couldn't like speak. So then he got on the phone and was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, Peter passed away. Like Peter died. And he was like, oh, and then I can't even remember the end of that conversation or how it wound up. But, and then like I called my Uncle Chris, and he was like, what? And I said, yeah. And then we talked a little bit. But that was those were the only people that I notified,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
So how did your mum find out?
Yeah, good question. So I still under the, the opinion and perspective that she should know. So then like once like the family like rallied, there was like more extended family, like I was like, oh, I need to get in touch with mum, but like I don't know where to start. Like I've got no phone number, like I'm not on Facebook. Like I've got Messenger, but I've got a deactivated account. I don't know where she lives. Like I'm pretty sure she's on the Central Coast, but I don't know where she is. I just don't know where to start. Anyway, my Bubba Joyce, she had her on Facebook and she sent her a message and was like, Laura needs to talk to you. And my mum was like, oh, like, why? What's it about? And she was just like, oh, you just need to talk to Laura. And then my mum said to her, oh, it's got something to do with Una. Because Yuna's disabled now after a horrific car accident. Probably like
Yuna's the oldest
the
sister.
eldest. Yeah.
sister.
What's 20? I can't remember. 2016. Sorry, I lied. 2016. So about 8 years ago.
So when you say, no, it's not important. You can continue.
No. What's your question?
I was going to say, like, in what way was she injured? Was it a brain or physical?
Yeah, it was brain.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's she doesn't speak anymore. She's non-communicative, and
Yeah.
she's in a wheelchair and stuff. Has 24/7 care. So, same situation about telling my mum about that as well. It was like there was like lots of discussion about,
Mm.
Do we tell her? And then, yeah, okay. So how do we get in contact with her? Anyway, so yeah, and then my mum had just basically said, "Oh, it's got something to do with you," like whatever. And then my bull Joyce just said, "No, like it's not, and you need to talk to Laura."
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. And yeah, my mum was just like, it's like talking to a brick wall.
Mm.
So that was just the end of it, because she just basically said, "No, that's what it is."
Yeah. Okay.
And then Bubba Joyce's daughter, my auntie Angie, she was like, she went full detective mode and ended up finding my mum on Facebook and sent her a message, ended up having a phone conversation with her about, actually, who knows? Because my auntie Angie said she said some pretty twisted stuff, and I don't feel comfortable repeating them back to you, because they're like about you, and I just don't think it's fair that she's either well, first of all, said those things, but you shouldn't, there's no need to worry about that kind of stuff, which I respect, but I'm still curious about what she said.
Yeah.
Anyway, my auntie Angie was like, "Look, I'm getting nowhere with her." This is like after a couple of days, maybe 3 days of trying to get my mum to actually agree to speak with me. And my auntie Angie just said, "I think I'm just going to have to tell her, because this is going nowhere. We're going in circles, and she's being quite vicious and like personally attacking people, including Auntie Angie and stuff." I said, "Look, honestly, it doesn't matter who it comes from. Just tell her. I don't care." She's so fucked in the head. My Auntie Angie said, told her, Peter died. And then my mum said, "Why didn't Laura tell me?"
Yeah.
I said, "Trying to talk to you, girl. Fuck, pick up that damn phone, eh?" Fucking hell. But anyway, yeah, so she agreed to give Auntie Angie her phone number and said that I could call her, and that she wanted to organise a private viewing of Peter. And yeah, so I had to have a really short conversation with my mum about potentially having a private viewing with Peter. That also didn't go very well. She got on the phone. I got on the phone. I called her from a private number because I was like, I don't want you to have my phone number. Yeah, I called her on a private number, and she's like, "Hello." And when you can tell by someone's tone of voice, their back is up.
Yeah.
It's I pictured, a cat, and they arch back and their hands are up, and they're like,
yeah.
That's what I pictured. It was that kind of
How
vibe.
they like?
Yeah. And I said,
Thanks, John. I nearly put the water everywhere.
it's like those no laugh challenges.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, she
Gotta play
said,
that game with the tortilla.
"Oh yeah, shall we?"
We could do that. We could do that after.
I'm in.
You have any wraps, John?
Yeah, actually,
It's dinner, right?
burrito wraps.
Yeah. Are they already filled, or
Make it even better, right?
filled wraps or empty wraps?
Yeah. Ask Cherry.
Oh, I will. Very soon. I might send her a text.
I'm sure she's listening.
So the phone call.
Sorry, yeah. So she
Got to back up.
Yeah, she's got her back up. She's hissing at me, right? And like, "Hello." I was like, "Oh, hey, it's Laura. You wanted to talk to me." "Oh no, that's right." I said, "Hey, how are you?" Any standard conversation begins,
Yeah.
and she goes, "Fine." And I paused for a moment because usually when you respond, you go, yeah,
How are you?
What's been happening? Yeah, how's it going? Nothing. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, all right, so I heard you wanted to speak to me. And she's like, yeah, I want a private viewing of Peter. I said, yeah, so, I can't remember who told me. I said, let's just say Auntie Angie. I said, Auntie Angie told me I've organised one for you. And then I said, it's on this day at this time, but I don't feel comfortable with this, so I'll be there with you. I didn't give her reasons why I wasn't comfortable with it, but
No, you don't have to.
well, I didn't have to. Like, I don't know her anything, and I like no is a complete sentence. So like, it was like giving out of respect for her being the mum. Like I thought I would honor that and, give her what she's asking for. But, realistically, none of us want anything to do with it. So why in death does she get to come and, like, the guy's passing on to wherever it is to go next. Why does he doesn't want to see his mum even in death? Like, if I died today, the last thing I would want is my mum anywhere near my body. Like, I don't know what she's snapping off and taking. You know what I mean? Like, she's not a trustworthy person. Yes, like, she's not a trustworthy person. I didn't trust her alone in a room with my dead brother.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm not comfortable with this. And I honestly believe it's not something he would have wanted either. But out of the respect for her just being the mother, I just thought, yeah. Anyway, so I just said, yeah, I've organised it this day, this time. Just so you know, I'm going to be there. And she just said, no, I want a private viewing. And just so you know, it's the name of it is a private viewing. And I said, it is a private viewing, but I will be there. And she said, no. And I said, okay, well, that's the best I can do. You can either take it or leave it. She goes, I'll leave it, thanks. Bye.
Wow.
And she hung up. And that was the end of that.
So she didn't end up coming on the day?
No. I didn't tell her where. That would have been a rookie error.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a wild card. Unpredictable, chaotic, yeah. So it's you have to tread carefully with her.
And that's been the case growing up as well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I it's definitely not my experience, and I guess some people in the chat might have the same experience, but I can't relate there. That's totally foreign to me, and I'm so sorry that's what you have to deal with.
Yeah, thanks, Gary, but it's not your fault, man.
No. The sentiment of it's sorry is like, yeah, it's sorry that you have to go through that. Like, sucks.
It sucks, but like in the hardest experiences, we learn a lot about ourselves, right?
100%.
So from having a pretty rough childhood, and to be fair, like, I didn't look at it as a rough childhood when I was like, oh, I still had fun. There was 4 of us still mucking around and stuff, like, and whatever. But like now seeing the effects of it in like deeper insight and deeper reflection, it's like, yeah, it wasn't as great as I initially thought, but it wasn't super bad. Like,
Did you ever look at like other people's families and be like,
all the time?
Yeah.
I remember growing up going like, fuck, I wish I was that guy.
Yeah, wow.
Like, man, I literally used to have thoughts like, man, I had a good friend who she's now a he, funnily enough. It was my best friend in primary school. At the time, her name was Danielle, and her parents were divorced, and she had one younger brother. But her mum was great. She was cool. She was fun. She was trusting. She was just a fantastic mother and person. And I remember a lot of occasions being like, man, I wish I was Danielle.
Yeah.
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 Don't we all?
Yeah. It's 2024, John. It's never too late.
Johnny L.
I love that.
So after all this, you've went through a rebuilding process within yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I
had to go through the whole grieving process.
Yeah.
Too,
well, it's still in process, man.
Yeah.
100%. Like the riding that wave, like the highs. The highs are more often than the lows, but
They
and
still
like
come
the
around.
lows still come around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know,
Are they as deep as they once were?
in terms of like expressing the emotion, like the pain is still very deep.
Mm.
Like I've lost someone that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with.
Mm.
Like I grieve every day that I've got something that I want to share with him. Like he was doing his chef's apprenticeship for a little while there, and I finished one, and the first thing I wanted to do was tell my brother. I wanted to celebrate and rejoice with him. Like I couldn't, you know. It was a big, you know, there's still lots of things that happen now
Mm.
where that pain of like missing him is so real.
Yeah.
You know, like not even in those bigger events or gatherings like Christmas or, you know, the Easter like periods or those times where your families get together and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just those moments. Like it's in the smaller mundane things as well. Like I remember driving home one day and I saw like it was literally like this like background here. There was like the sun was like setting over this hill and it was so pretty. And
Yeah.
like I just thought of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it'd be cool. Like I just want to talk to him. And you know, I can still talk to him, but
I was going to ask.
yeah.
Do you still talk to him?
I do.
Yeah.
But I did have this pretty wild experience once where, like, as I was falling asleep, I fell into this like weird like trance type of feeling and stuff, and it felt like I was like transported into this other world. I don't. It sounds wild, man.
No, go for
But
it.
I felt like I had kind of shifted over into like a different, like a parallel universe or something. And I was looking through a window, and it was like a backyard, and there was like a silver shed, and there was like a guy cooking a barbecue, and the guy, it didn't look like Peter like specifically, but it was like Peter.
Yeah.
And like there's like along the side fence, there was like a couple of people, and they're like having a conversation off in the background. And he was just standing in this yellow apron with his tongs in one hand, and he was just waving at me, and he was smiling, and like I just like it was, and then I don't know, I snapped out of it, and I like opened my eyes, and I was like, what the heck? And then like as I was falling back asleep, it's like I went back there, and it was like really similar, but like this time he was holding a beer, so it was like he's all right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's doing well.
Yeah.
He's doing really well.
That give you a bunch of comfort?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that gives me comfort as well to this day that like,
that image.
yeah, when like there's things like I want to talk to him about, or, you know, things like that. I imagine myself standing around a barbecue, having a beer and chatting shit. And it is really comforting.
Yeah.
Very, very comforting. Yeah. It's the grieving process. I like, for me at this point in time, it hasn't ended.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's something that will not end because there are still going to be those things that it's like are going to pop up. Like if I ever get married or something like that, it's going to be like, you know, I want my brother there.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, someone has a baby, or, you know, his son starts school, or you know what I mean? Like just these types of things, and it's like you miss him all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's just like this what it has been, the journey so far is just that acceptance.
Yeah.
The acceptance of firstly his choice in the matter. And then secondly, the acceptance of just like what is now and what the future looks like.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I thought I was going to die with this guy. Like I was going to live forever with this guy. And like all of a sudden he's not here. And yeah, and that future that, you know, standing around a barbecue chatting shit while there's kids running around a backyard, and
It's just,
it's not that anymore,
yeah.
but it's so it's just like this acceptance of, and like the acceptance as well of, this is how I feel about it as well,
Mm.
because like a lot of it is not trying to fight how I feel and like go, oh, what if, or I should have done this, or because there were signs.
Yeah.
There was definitely signs, but like I because of my own experience with suicide and my like attempts, ideation, mental health, I pulled myself out of it.
Mm.
So I had subconsciously or unconsciously just decided that he would too, and that wasn't the case. So like also acceptance of how I dealt with a situation
Mm.
without packing on too much guilt or like having that God complex where I can save everyone, those kind of things. But yeah, it's definitely in the weeks after. Wow, that was a really long way to answer your question. In the weeks after, we just, at the time I was living with Amy, in this big 4-bedroom house backyard. There was only 2 of us in there, which turned out to be like a great blessing because my family just camped at our house for like 2 weeks after until the funeral. That again, still, it's like it didn't really hit. Like it's still not sinking in. Yeah, like I remember I went for a swim. I used to swim like a few laps and stuff a little bit. And I remember trying to go for a swim and I had to cut it short. I was only there for like 5 minutes or something, like in the water, because I couldn't figure out my breathing.
Yeah.
So like the patterns and the cadence and like all that stuff, like it just, I wasn't, so what I wasn't doing was I wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
It's something so that's meant to be so natural.
Yeah.
It's like I was still holding my breath, waiting for him to walk in the door.
Now, have you guys ever had that moment where, that thing that's something so natural and you start thinking about it and you can't do it right?
Yes.
Like
Pooing?
holding my mouth shut. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, trying to fall asleep and like,
What do I do?
it's supposed to be
Big teeth.
naturally shut.
Big
Like,
teeth.
big teeth, eh?
Yeah. He lost some weight and now he's got big teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, John thinks that when you lose weight, your teeth get bigger. It's just because I've lost weight around my face.
Yeah, you just need to grow your beard out a bit more.
Yeah, we've trimmed it back nicely. What were the things that helped you get through it?
Yeah, I definitely.
And I also want to know what didn't help.
Oh,
How? I mean,
a
where do you want to
shitty
start?
relationship.
Tastes like piss.
Yeah. Do you know that story, Gary? I'll have to tell you off air, mate. It's a bit R-rated for the fans, but
Well, we're gonna have to later on do a members only section.
I feel like it's
where we're off YouTube.
self-explanatory, though. Is it not?
I gotcha.
Yeah. One thing that didn't help me was I was in a shitty relationship. Talking about acceptance, like I was in a relationship with a person who was emotionally unavailable, emotionally immature, and unwilling to do anything about it. So it didn't help that instead of being supported or loved or cared for in a time where that's what I really needed, I had someone running away from me.
Yeah.
And it's like, come back here and fucking hug me, mate. Like, I need a cuddle. Like, at the first sign of tears, I just remember the night after the funeral, like I got home and I'd held myself together pretty well throughout the funeral. Like, I just knew that I had to do that because I knew if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to make it through the funeral. So I was like, don't start, because if you start, like, you're going to go.
Waterworks.
Yeah.
It's a waterfall.
Slippery slope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and like I got home and I jumped into bed and like I just broke down in tears. And I just remember looking up and seeing this guy literally running out of my room to go get the rest of my family to get in there. It's like I just needed a moment to myself.
Mm.
He couldn't have just shut the door and left me to it or asked me what I needed in the moment or anything. He was like, this is too much for me. Like, I'm out. And that just encapsulates his response to like my grief.
Yeah. Some of the most powerful things you can do for anyone is just be there. You don't need to say anything. You just need to be present.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask them anything. Just let them be in your presence. And that is a powerful thing. And I'm so sorry that wasn't there for you.
It was just, I guess I also had an unspoken expectation about it coming from my romantic partner. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's a fair expectation, to be honest.
Yeah, prerequisite for a relationship.
Yeah.
Being there.
Yeah, and
present.
Yeah.
So my imaginary boyfriend Johnny.
You should be there.
Yeah.
You can be there at my best, but you should be there at my, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
Yeah,
That's the old trope.
Yeah.
It really sounds true.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's other instances where like that I can go, oh, like, fuck, the signs are there. Like, I knew like for a long time that I didn't want to be with him, but I was battling with my own, bit off topic, but like battling with societal pressures of like age, reproduction pressures of like age.
Yeah.
You know, and also for some reason telling myself and believing that my next relationship was going to be like my last, like, and then choosing somebody who, and then I painted him like this image of him of like what I needed and what I wanted, and then fell in love with that rather than who he was, who he is, and what he kept telling me either through like his actions or his words, you know?
Yeah.
So that didn't help.
Was there anything else that didn't help particularly? Or was it mostly that?
I think honestly it was mostly that, because when I finally just cut it off, like I wasn't even sad about it.
Yeah.
I was just like relieved, happy. I felt lighter, freer, like as if I didn't have to go and raise somebody else's son who was almost 30 years old. Like, do you know what I mean? Like
a burden was lifted.
Yeah, 100. So I think, yeah, that's probably it. And then I didn't quite fall back into patterns of drinking, but I did, like, my response was to kind of like check out. So like what didn't help was like reaching out for help. So I didn't help myself as well. Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a huge one.
Can I ask you about the drinking? Because you're fun to be around.
Thank you.
Yeah. Especially when you have a drink.
Yeah.
Was drinking completely different from that point on? Like,
no, it wasn't from that point on, because in my alcohol journey, I'd already changed my relationship with alcohol. So it wasn't something that I lent on in my time of need, but because it was something that, so as a child, I dissociated a lot from my circumstances, and what I did as an adult was the easiest and quickest way for me to dissociate was to just get blackout drunk, right? So then, because that was just like my natural response, that I had learnt to survive my childhood, and I carried that into adulthood until I addressed it. It was like I kind of wanted to go back to that. Like it was just a knee-jerk reaction to just fall back into that, because that was the easy thing, because that's what I know. And I know that really well. But because I had already addressed my relationship with alcohol, it didn't taste the same.
Yeah.
It didn't taste the same at all. And I didn't actually want the effects of dissociating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what were the things that helped you get through it then?
Yeah. Great question. Definitely connection.
Yeah.
Family. I received therapy. I did a 6-month intensive therapeutic course with awareness work and Lisa Darvaniza. That was fantastic to help me process a lot of my grief. I did a few sessions with Nikki. I can't. Her last name is spelled Dunn, Done, but it might be Doan or Don. I don't actually know. Sorry, Nikki.
Shout out.
Yeah. I did a couple of sessions with her as well, and there's I did the 6-month course twice, and the first time I did it, Nikki worked like quite closely with me and my partner, not like my romantic partner, but my partner in the course at the time. His name was Knox, and Knox was like, she's like a witch, but like a good witch, not like an evil bad witch. She's like a witch. She's a freak. She is something else. Like she is so good in terms of like when it comes to like addressing feelings. She can call you on your bullshit when you go, oh no, I don't think so. She's like, are you sure? Like she was gentle but firm. She knows her stuff, and she's just like, yeah, she has literal magic inside.
You're a wizard, Nikki.
Yeah, she's a wizard. But I did a couple of independent one-on-one sessions with her as well. And yeah, she's just, even though there was distance between us, her methods, it was like she just like nail on the head with everything that she said to me, and how she, conducted her therapeutic sessions as well. So definitely therapy, definitely, yeah, connection, like the family. Like one of the good things that came out of this was, I said before, like I wasn't really close with like my extended family, but it's brought us like much closer together.
Yeah.
I speak to like my family on the phone, and like we say I love you now. Like that was never a thing.
Wow.
And like we say I love you, and we put in effort for each other to like see each other, and like it's both give and take with all of us now. And so like, yeah, definitely that whole, I guess, reconnection, or definitely a strengthening of connection with family. But also friends as well. Yeah, friends are great. Like if you've got the right ones, by the way. And the friends are really great because like, I remember sitting at my mate's house, Jess Baker, and she's a nurse, and she was talking about a situation where a guy came into work, and he was on some sort of life support because he had attempted. And she was like, oh, we don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. Like, and it's like, no, but then she's like, she really listened. Like I still remember that quite clearly. And it's like, it's because she made me felt like seen and heard, and she didn't judge me, and she was gentle and was like, and there's still the love and the support there. And it's like, if you want to go there, we can go there. Like, I'm not scared to go there with you. But if you don't want to, that's okay as well. And then again, just a humor thing, like, being with friends, like, we can have a laugh about it. I mean, yeah. So I think just, being able to kind of see the funny side and the humor of it. And I think friends are great for that kind of thing too. Yeah.
With that too, are there friends that should have been there? You said you had a partner that should have been there that wasn't there. Was there friends that were like dead wood in your life that you've went through the ordeal and now know who your friends are for crises and who your friends are for just, we spoke more recently about how much conversations actually mean anything.
Yeah.
And it was like 0.2% you put out there.
Yeah. Honestly, it was, I don't think I had any friends that are deadwood.
Yeah.
They're all like, and like you have different.
Shout out to Laura's friends.
Yeah. Amen.
Not boyfriends, just friends.
Yeah.
Just friends.
Not boyfriends.
About the girlfriend.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, you're right. Like, it did make me realize that even past friendships that had, like, I guess ended, like, still hearing from people who are like, once meant something in my life or had an impact on my life, to reach out and say, like, I'm so sorry and I hope you're okay and stuff like that. Like, it's a big deal. And I think, yeah, I didn't have any friends that are Deadwood, but I definitely do know where to put my time and effort. And that definitely solidified that. Like I already knew, but it definitely solidified it.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I'm pretty bad at responding to text messages if you don't already know that.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's take the good and the bad.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
And-
I've actually had no problem talking to you over text message.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just trying to line up this. Like, you've been great.
Gary and Laura live.
Yeah. Thanks, John. We'll see you later.
Yeah, with the old is with the new.
With that,
We
is-
were talking about a name change.
Yeah.
Is the relationship with the other brother even tighter than it was before?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I'd been working on that relationship before this happened.
Mm.
But it's been so I moved in with Danny a couple of months after Peter passed away, and it was because the relationship was dying, and it was just I hadn't finalized the ending, but it's like it was really dying, and it was like I was meant to move in with this guy, and I had moved all my stuff, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Danny, can I come stay with you? He's like, yeah. And I haven't left Danny. And we've had conversations about, if I did leave or
What next?
yeah, but because Danny and I have lived together before, and it did not go well. But this time around, like, I think I was already a different person because I've done a little bit of work on myself already. But it works now, and I think he's never been one to talk.
Yeah.
He's a grunting guy.
Yeah.
Morning, Danny. Good night, Danny. He's much better now. Like I say good night, and he's like, night.
Well, the conversations you have with me is that he likes to play video games.
He does, loves
and
it.
that's his outlet, and he will chat to his mates over the video game.
Yeah.
And that was a big outlet for me when I went through crisis. My question, and this may not be something that's relevant yet. When I went through my crisis and come out the other side, I wouldn't be the man I am today, I guess, if I didn't go through that crisis.
Yeah.
And as much as I would love to take it away, there's also a part of me that's like, I needed to go through that crisis. Is there anything like that for you, or is it it's because it's still pretty fresh?
No, I definitely agree with you, 100%. Like, everything in my life that has happened, big or little types of traumas or whatever you want to call them, I don't like just events that are negative. Look, it's like a bit of a hard question to answer in terms of Peter, because it's like, I 100% would rather have him here,
back,
100%. But also
the growth you've gone
through it, like, the massive, like, accept, like, just these
like trying
lessons.
to find that silver lining.
That acceptance was really big, because it's like the acceptance filters into every part of my life, like accepting other people for who they are, accepting that, like, this is who I am, accepting, like, my experiences past, and accepting that I don't know what will happen in the future. Like, it's just, it's that acceptance in every single aspect of my life now is like, it's just so good. Like, I've never really felt like I feel like I've been someone who's been pretty chill, but now it's literally like, this is what it is. And like the acceptance of that is just wild. So I'm like, yeah. And like, like I feel definitely wouldn't be the same person, because like I now, like I feel like I used to care a lot about like everything.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's more that I care probably more, but about the things that matter.
Yeah.
Like my relationships with my friends and my family. Like, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care, like, about others, like just what society tells me I should be doing right now.
Mm.
As a 32-year-old woman, like I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
but I care a lot about, you know, the people in my life and the relationships that I have. I care about what I think, like in terms of like what I want to do, where I want to go, where I want to be in certain periods of time and stuff. And yeah, like I love harder. I laugh harder. I can, like, I just, yeah, like, you know, accept that that's who I am. And rather than trying to look at myself in terms of lacking,
Yeah.
I see like a lot of abundance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I would have been able to see all these things if Peter was still here today.
Yeah. Wow.
Hmm.
I've had a few people, family that have went through different grief, and I've given them this advice, and I hope that this helps you. The joy that you had with Peter is real, and the grief that you have is real. But don't forget the joy, because all you got then is the grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more real than the grief.
What I initially thought, that was actually another thing that got me through. The pain I feel is equivalent or less than the love that I feel.
Mm.
So that's a really big thing for me, because like as someone who has gone through my life thinking that I've never loved someone, that's
Or been loved.
or been loved, that's in terms of being like romantically. But I have so much love in my life, like family, friends, like my brother's dog, like, you know what I mean? Like I got so much love in my life.
Yeah.
And Peter taught me that all this time, this is what I mean about abundance and like that thought of lacking, is like he taught me that what I thought I had been lacking, I actually had so much of in the first place that it's immeasurable.
It's perspective, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has you described having that kind of trance-like state, and seeing your brother in the barbecue is quite a spiritual kind of encounter you've had. Has this whole thing kind of made you ask questions about any sort of something out there?
I've always been a big believer that there is.
Yeah.
Like this, come on, can't just be us, right?
That's right.
Like surely. But to be honest with you, no, not ask questions. Because again, it's like that acceptance thing. Like I just accept that there's gonna be things that I don't know. And there are gonna be questions that I'm not actually really gonna get the answer to until I get the answer to them.
Yeah.
So not really, no.
That's a true statement, I think.
Yeah. 60% every time. Yeah. So I've always been really curious about like religion and faith. I remember when I lived with Gigi, I would ask her questions about like her faith and how certain things pop up in or work with her faith and like the way the world works and stuff like that, and like having really like, you know, nice conversations about the belief and the faith and how that ties in with this like the world today. But in this particular experience, I haven't. I haven't. No.
Yeah. So that whole thing is a wild story. It is amazing to see you come out the other side, and we love seeing the joy coming back into your life as well as your friends,
and being a part of that joy.
Yeah,
going through that with you, seeing
even
seeing the downs, but being able to see the ups from
being with you in grief as well. Like that's a big privilege. And
yeah, thank you guys. Like you guys, you know, and that's one thing that like I feel like we don't really fully understand is like the impact we have on other people. But it's like you guys have had a major impact as well, and like even just inviting me here today, but also like being able to spend time with you and being able to have like those conversations where we can, that 98.8% of it can be absolute trash, but we can still have those conversations
Yeah.
where there's some sort of meaning behind it. So yeah, you guys have definitely made an impact on it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So for going forward, what would be your advice to others going through a similar situation? Yeah.
I think it's very similar to what John said. Yeah. Like, you just remember that the pain you feel is equivalent, if not less than, the love that you feel.
Yeah.
Feel or felt, or however that works
Yeah.
for you. But yeah, definitely don't forget that there's beauty in it, and that beauty is the love.
Yeah.
Or the joy. Yeah.
Throughout that the hardship, the sadness, did you ever think about it yourself?
No.
Committing
Not even
yourself?
once.
That's good.
Mm.
For those who are out there and have struggles with life, you're not alone. We're all here trying to get through life together, and there are people to help you. And I've pulled up some sites here that we've talked about in the past about, and I've even used some of these as well. You can always call Lifeline. Lifeline's always got someone there to chat to you. A good one is Black Dog Institute. Jump on their websites. Jump on the jump on their
To all the
website.
black dogs out there.
Jump on the phone, and they'll never turn you away. Laura, do you want to tell us about this mob, Livin?
Look,
'Cause,
100%.
is this hat from
Yeah.
Livin?
Yeah, it is. I got a hat, a shirt, some trackies, and a couple of car stickers. But it's just like the awareness of, like, you know, was sitting in the RMS the other day. RMS, Service New South Wales. is
Yeah.
it?
Services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the chick was like, "Oh, I really like your hat. Like, it's like something as simple as like a nice, small but to the point message as can start a conversation with someone, and then, you know, you don't know whose life or decisions or directions you can impact just by wearing a t-shirt or a hat or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guys, not 100 on it, but I think it's about they want to talk about like the stigma of mental health, and they want to change and bring awareness and, you know, change that. Yeah, the stigma.
Yeah. Yeah, mental health is a big thing in our society right now. It's coming up all the time in talking points for our TV shows, coming up all the time on social media, and like talking points for our politicians and whatnot. So there's a huge thing there for mental health. My advice for those who are struggling is to talk. Actually, don't go through this alone. Talk to people. Talk to your friends. If you feel like you don't have any, you've got those institutes there that'll help you out. For men, this is the one I used. It's called the Men's Toolbox group in Queensland. They were phenomenal. They will specialize in men's mental health. So guys are more likely to commit suicide than women.
Yeah.
It's because we don't talk. Guys, you need to talk. You need to tell people your struggles. And this mob is a great mob to go through. Call your doctor, go through a mental health assessment, and no one's ever going to turn you away, and they're not going to refuse you, and you can get through. You can get through it. It's the best thing we can say. Like you can get through it, and we can adapt. We can overcome, and we're not gonna let you do it alone. So if you're out there, you need some help, hit us up in the chat as well. We're here to chat. We're here to help. And I try to answer pretty much 100% of our chat. So speaking of chat, we did have a few comments come through from Nuevo Ledu. She gave a praying symbol emoji, and then she said, "How sad! One of my cousins committed suicide," with a sad face. And we're sorry to hear that that's happened. it's tragic, and it hurts everyone who gets left behind,
Mm.
and we have to deal with it. And so we're so sorry that's happened to you, and we hope you're getting the help from your friends and family, as well as any of these awesome institutes out there. We'll put them in the links in the description below, so you can, if anyone needs the help, that is there. From Wizened or Wizened Mandrill, he said, very sad. Only advice I can give is prayers for the departed, and try to still honor your mother, even if it's hard. All the best, Laura.
Thank you, brother. Or sister.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Laura, thank you so much for sharing your story. We hope it actually helps people going forward, hearing that it's not the end, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah. Any closing statements, John?
Are we bringing out the hats for a good segue?
I think we'll leave that for next week.
All right.
I think we've done a really great night, and I think let's end with Laura. Do you have anything you want to say to everyone before we finish up?
Much love, guys. Rip it in. Hit me up on Instagram. No, I'm kidding.
Do you want to shout out your Instagram? You can.
Oh no, I'm not in it. So I'm in it to spread a message. Eh?
What about your Tinder profile?
Oh. Willing to be a unicorn. Nah, jokes. Yeah, no, thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate. Just remember there's tough times. Tough times never last. Yeah, just check in on your mates, check in on your family, your friends. Don't take the full burden, but just that little check in could save your life.
And if you are suspectful of someone, the best thing you can ask them is directly, are you suicidal? And that'll get the conversation going. And it's not going to make them think about it, because if they're thinking about it, they're already thinking about it.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well,
from all the training I've had, that's and I was in the army, and they talk about suicide a lot, because it happened to a lot of army boys. And so best thing you can do is ask them directly. Are you about to say something?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, probably the one thing I learnt from supporting or not supporting Peter, however you look at it, is that I never asked him what he needed from me. So a really good question to follow up with, because if you ask them if they are suicidal and they say yes, it's like, all right, what do I say or what do I do next? I think probably a really good response is, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Because in my experience, the way I thought I was helping or assisting looks like from the end result that it didn't. And, that could have potentially have been solved as well by asking, what do you need or want from me right now, and how can I help you? Rather than just assuming that
we're in this together as well. That's
100.
Making sure that you're telling them that you are there.
100.
If you are like a fish out of water and none of that advice helps, make sure you call those institutions as well. Lifeline is a really good one. I've used that when I'm not sure about someone said they were going to kill themselves, and so I did use Lifeline, and they helped me through it, and they told me what to do, and so
nice.
It was helpful, and it was a very different situation to the one you're in, but you're not alone. Australia has done very well at trying to make sure there's, not just Australians are trying to put themselves out there and make institutions and groups like this, so we can raise awareness, we can help each other out. Yeah, in Australia, you're not supposed to ever do anything alone. That's how the traditions went. We worked hard together.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you could please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends. Would love to see Laura's amazing message go out. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, fam.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.